Everyone, welcome to another Top 5 Records video. And another one in the series in which I'm taking a closer look at the full body of work of Led Zeppelin. And we have arrived in 1971 with their fourth album, Led Zeppelin IV, also known as Symbolds, and also known as the Untitled album, because this record got released without any information on the cover whatsoever. I mean, there's this old painting, old photograph actually. Yeah, it's a photograph which they colorized, uh, painting of a building. Then when you open the gatefold sleeve, awesome mythical painting. I always loved this. Um, with, a, with actually a castle down there. And if you take a look at the vinyl itself, you get an explanation why it's called Symbolds. Because it does have the name of the band, but it also has symbols which have been chosen by the band members to represent themselves, I believe. Obviously themselves, because Robert Plant has a small plant here. Also, if you're looking for a good sounding copy, I was lucky enough to find this for $10, a first UK Red Plum, and that sounds astonishing. But I also have this first German pressing, which um, I paid about the same amount of money for that, but it's more common to pay $10 or $15 for that. And that sounds astonishing as well. Very good, but this one, the first UK Red Plum, beats it for me. Still very curious about the classic records though. Enough about the sound quality. What is this record like? Well, Plant and Page returned to Bron-Yr-Aur in Wales, this stone cottage in a forest without electricity, running water, to get back to writing for this album. And Bron-Yr-Aur and Wales had this mythical influence. Again, there is a Lord of the Rings inspired song on this album. And it's not that only the lyrics represent that, it's the entire tone. Though this record has more of a hard rock feel than Led Zeppelin III, it still has that same folklore, mythical element there. And in a very strange way, folklore, Bon Air and what they saw and heard there, and hard rock blended. For example, the first song, Black Dog, is, I mean, a very beautiful hard rock and roll song, which gets me back to a sort of like Little Richard vibe. Though Led Zeppelin play it a lot deeper and rougher, even rougher than a Little Richard connotation. It's basically about a black dog that kept coming to their house, and Robert Plant was thinking about the black dog and how he kept coming back, and suddenly the black dog didn't come by no more and went into the woods. So Robert Plant fantasized, well, the black dog might have met a lady dog. And it's simple like that. That is the story of Black Dog. That's the that's the idea behind Black Dog. And while telling that story, it is one of the most hard and heavy rock and roll songs ever. It is such a beautiful opener of this album. And most often when you have such a heavy opener, it's you've got this front loaded album, first song great, but after Black Dog, honestly, we go to rock and roll. And that was actually a Little Richard inspired jam session that led to that song. And rock and roll is just another epic, hard rock and roll songs. I mean, these two songs, one after another, it's just so good. I actually heard the drummer of Queen, Roger Taylor, perform that song live a couple of years ago. And he also has this gorgeous high pitched voice, raw high pitched voice that is just really doing a great job there. Nevertheless, it doesn't get better than Robert Plant, and I don't think Roger Taylor would have imagined sounding better than Robert Plant. Yet again, listening to this a first pressing, and I had the same with the other records, I am just astonished by the quality, the texture, the way the way he moves towards the highs. It's not just about hitting the high note. Ian Gillan could hit the high notes. Ian Gillan is a great singer. I mean, Child in Time is it's one of the hardest songs to sing. But if you listen to him live or even studio sessions, the way he goes to the highs, it's always the same curve. Plant has so much diversity in his voice and the way he moves, and the way he gets there. And sometimes with ease, sometimes pinching, forcing, but always spot on. Always with when going into the high, it's not as if his focus is solely to go to the high. His focus is still with the emotion, with the story. He's very focused on the narrative he's telling, even if it are silly or easygoing narratives. I mean, the man is a brilliant vocalist. After Rock and Roll, you get the Battle of Evermore. I believe that was one of the songs that was inspired by Lord of the Rings. Such an epic song. Then you think we must have heard everything. I mean, so many great songs just on side one, and no, side one ends even bigger with Stairway to Heaven. Now, what can I say about Stairway to Heaven that hasn't been said already? It's one of those songs that has been covered by 50% of the people of the guys who picked up the guitar. As a matter of fact, I played that song with my first band over and over again. Yet, whenever you put on the original, when you listen to the original record, there is a certain magic in the grooves. The first night I spent in this house here, the one I'm living now, a friend came over, and the first song played in my house was Stairway to Heaven. It is just magical. It's taking a look at the live concert video of The Song Remains the Same, of that version of Stairway to Heaven. I know that's been heavily dubbed, perhaps even more just than heavily. Yet something in that song just strikes me. It hits me. It's personal, but that's the thing. That song is personal to most of the listeners. It's just incredible how Led Zeppelin does that. Then you go to side two, Misty Mountain Hub. Misty Mountain Hub is the Lord of the Rings inspired one. At least the Hobbit, because the Misty Mountains are the mountains where the dragon Smaug lives. But isn't the Battle of Evermore as well? I mean, are there some Lord of the Rings specialists here who can report on that on my channel? I'd love to know, because I love the Lord of the Rings, and I love the way the influence of the Lord of the Rings with Led Zeppelin remains fresh and unique and interesting, and seems like it's forming a myth on its own. I really enjoy the way they do that. Four Sticks, it's great. Going to California, ooh, the way that guitar rolls and how the sensitivity in Plant's voice here is just magical. Ending off with When the Levee Breaks. Great song after great song after great song after great song after great song. This is not just one of the best records of the 70s. It is one of the best records of all time. So solid. So good. When you put it on, you cannot put it off. It's so coherent. It's so magical. It's as if you're walking into a fantasy world. A rough fantasy world. Nevertheless, a fantasy world I want to stay in. It's an I just gave it a spin. I'm still in awe. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.